Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. I am Bryan Steele. I will be your professional nerd today and every other day that you watch one of my silly little shows. So let's do this. Let's say we're gonna do the week in Bryan. It's been a good week. Good week. Finished a section of the Power Rangers, a big adventure arc, like the first real big, like pre-written adventure game. So that's that. I got a section of that done, and I actually should be wrapping up with my part of that project probably in a week. Started sinking my teeth into, no pun intended, into the next Shadowrun book, the next Shadowrun novel, which has some cool surprise characters in there. A couple of locations that the Shadowrun role playing game have never really gotten deep into. So I get to basically be the first person to kind of rip the cover off of that, and the introduction of an existing species, if that makes sense. Like it already exists, but like as far as I could go back into any amount of research and asking the people at Catalyst and everything, they basically have only ever been sort of talked about adjacent. Like, yeah, that's kind of what they are, and that's it. So I'm super psyched. There's a whole section of the book that deals with this particular meta species, and I'm psyched because my goal, especially when it comes to writing things, my goal, if it's writing anything that has a game adjacent to it, that the that a player will get a hold of this and then bring it to their game master and go, hey, can I play this? Or even better yet, that like the people at Catalyst, the Shadowrun guys, read the book and go, we need to make sure that we have a supplement soon that have rules for these guys because they're badass. That's the like the ultimate goal as a fiction author. I can obviously cheat in that and pitch a book to them as also a game designer and be like, I'm going to pitch a splat book to you and it's got these things in there. But that takes away some of the awesomeness of someone taking my flag and running with it. The next round of playtesting from Warzone came back this week. We are so close to basically saying the rule set is done, and then it comes into basically tweaking the scenarios, making sure the stuff that's going to be in the main book works, make sure the stats flow the proper way, figure out what needs to be in that initial launch. So we're close, really close. I mean, there comes a time, and Alex might disagree with me on this. There comes a time when you are testing options because you're afraid of pulling the trigger, and I think that we're not there yet. The options and stuff that we're testing and we're playing with are making the game better, and I totally agree with Alex and a lot of the playtester advice that's coming back. But I do think that we are dangerously walking that plank of getting to the point where we're starting to come up with stuff that we want to test because we're not, I don't say we're afraid. Afraid seems like a powerful and silly word, but like hesitant to say, okay, this is the best thing that we can make. And I think that's where we're at, is that we're walking down that plank, getting to the end where the thing that we're looking in front of us is basically saying, all right, cool, it's done. Let's get it ready for the Kickstarter. And I think that that's where we're getting close to. But again, that is also a decision not made by me. I am very happy with the rule set. Some of the issues that are coming back from the playtesters, in my opinion, are some pretty specific corner cases that are far and few between. But if they can still be fixed without changing something major, without making ourselves so much more work to do, it's still worth changing. Our corner case still means that it did come up. And so you obviously want to try and avoid it if you can. Let's see. It's been a pretty solid week. Played a couple of games of a new board game called Happy Little Dinosaurs. It's made by the same people who do what's it, Tea Turtle and Unstable, or not Tea Turtle, Unstable Unicorns, maybe Tea Turtle, I don't remember. But they do the card game Unstable Unicorns, made by the same people. And this game is so adorable. You are a dinosaur that is basically waiting for the end of the world, or the end of your, waiting for your extinction event. And it's super cute. It's drawn in that same kind of Unstable Unicorns, cutesy art style. But the goal is to be either the first dinosaur to score all the way to 50 points, or the last dinosaur standing. We've played enough in the last 2 weeks that I've won both ways. I have also lost very quickly before, where it's it's partially a bidding game, partially a gotcha game with some gotcha elements. There's a lot to this game, but it's deceptively cute. And we've played it several times. We've had a blast. I hope that, similar to Unstable Unicorns, we get some expansions for it in the future. I think that it definitely could do, now that we've played it 6 or 7 times in 2 weeks. I'm seeing a lot of the same tactics over again, and I think that an expansion that's got a couple new dinosaurs and maybe a couple new disaster types or something like that might behoove the system. But that is me as a designer. I tried to explain this to my wife, that I have a very hard time playing any game and not immediately try to tweak it and be like, this, I would do this if I worked for them, or if I could pitch an expansion, I would totally add this. It happens every time I play anything. So take that with a grain of salt. If I ever tell you about a game and I'm like, I love this game, but as soon as I say the word but, unless I go on a rant about something very specific that needs to be changed to make the game fair or something like that, it's probably me just basically going, man, if I could put my fingerprints on this product, this is what I would do. Or just ignore me anyway and go play the game, man. Come up with the thing for yourself. Let's see. I got to role play 3 different times this week. I ran my family D&D game, which I think that they did very well. We're always worried that the kids are going to get distracted. They are now, one is a teenager and one is right on the cusp of being a teenager, like within months. And there are times where it feels like you've got to oh, hey, also, as a side note, come here, Larfleeze. Yeah, we have a visitor today. I could not get her out of the studio because one of our dogs, the service dog, Barry Allen, would not leave her alone. So we have Larfleeze, the Wonder Cat, in the studio today. So while I'm filming, I was going to just be like, I'll edit out anything that happens when she pops in. But you know what? This is Tales of a Professional Nerd. Sometimes crazy stuff happens. Living the life of a freelancer means sometimes I have to keep the cat in here to make sure that she doesn't, go crazy and make the dogs knock over everything in the rest of the house. So if she jumps up here, we'll say hi, we'll pet her, and then we'll let her be on her way. But I have a feeling she's just going to chill out in that sunbeam, and we're going to be good. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I got to run the family D&D game, which was awesome. We had such a good time. I had a good time. It was mostly combat because the last session was most assuredly not combat. The last session was them getting geared up as deputy members of the Witch Hunters Union. Their overall plot is based around 3 witches trying to bring about the bring about the return of Yanogu, the Knoll demon god. And they've already dispatched one of the witches. They're on the hunt for the next one. And as part of that, they let somebody know in like a large city. They let somebody know about the fact that they've already hunted down one witch and they're looking for another one. And so the Witch Hunters Union got a hold of them and basically tested them to make sure that they were pure, making sure that they could do the task at hand without being controlled by witches and so forth. There was a whole session of them being tested and questioned, and it was a lot of fun. But the end result is that they're deputy members of the Witch Hunters Union, which pays them 5 gold a week. And that's not much in the case of like an adventurer's salary, but it's extra money. But there's a cause that if they ever get into an altercation involving, there's this big long list, like almost like a silly like a set of side effects from a medicine. It's if they get into it, deal with the undead fiends from the lower or upper planes. There's this big long thing. They get quadruple money that week. So they get 20 gold. Also, as a side note, excuse the barking if you hear it. My neighbor's dogs have ill manners, and I have to keep the window open, or this will I'll get steamy and gross in here. Hopefully, he will chill out, and you won't be listening to a dog bark constantly. But so the last session was them kind of getting all their stuff geared up and ready to go investigate this little growing fishing village that apparently all the fish are dying, and their witch hunter contact has decided that that's obviously a sign of witchcraft and hexing, and so they're going to go there and they're going to deal with this. And they get there, and sure enough, the dock is covered in there's dead bodies, there's signs of a scuffle. And the fishermen drop them off, and they fight against a couple of big giant toads that are being rid by these little I call them yinlings. They are Yanogu demon servants from the other side. So little misshapen hyena dudes. And they kill them and whatever. And by the end of the session, they have found a grate in the bottom of one of these new houses that potentially could lead them to more adventure, and that's kind of where we wrapped up the game. But so funny as the case may be, they're 3rd level currently, and they had a not a hard time with the fight, but there was a couple of times that their rolls were not great, and my stepdaughter's rogue got brought down to 4 hit points out of 11 and was like, I disengage, I am out of here, I don't want to get stabbed again. And I had thought, I was like, 11 hit points is like, there's during the combat, just in the back of my head, I was like, 11 hit points is really low for a 3rd level character. Even a rogue, that seems really low. Well, what ended up happening is we figured out after the game, because I was like, all right, everybody, that was a great combat, it was a great game, and knowing what I know coming up soon, I'm like, everybody level to 4. Let's get some feats under their belts. Let's get them, get them ready for the next parts of this game. And I believe it was Connor, my son, who looks down at what he's going to do for level 4, and then looks at me and goes, "Oh yeah, what about that whole arcane archer thing? When do I do that?" Because we had talked about it after the last game, or after the game they leveled to do arcane archer as his martial archetype. And then it suddenly struck me that we never did. And so then I asked my wife, "Hey, did you ever take that path of the beast or path of the tempest or anything for your primal path?" "No, we never did that." I leveled them to 3 and then explained that all of the characters they're going to have to pick their paths and do their hit points and all that stuff between game sessions, and I was going to help them with that because they're all relatively new players. I forgot. Completely forgot about doing it. So we got into this game. They played effectively 2 game sessions as level 3 without any of the level 3 benefits. So now I've leveled them up through 3 to 4. So the next time that we play, they're ready to go. But I feel so bad. I'm super glad that Demaya, Nori's character, didn't get killed. Because if that would have happened, that character, that rogue was supposed to have an extra set of hit points. I would have been very, very upset with myself if that would have happened. Sorry, guys, ding ding. Oh my gosh, that dog is making me crazy. I am so sorry. For all I know, you guys can't even hear it. I don't know if my microphone is canceling them out, but it's making me nuts. So that was the family game. Had a great time playing the family game, and then we had the game where I am a cat monk. It's called Waking Realms, but that's the name of the game master runs that game. That's his world. He calls it the Waking Realms. We had a good time. It was a fun game. There was really no no combat. It was a lot of us getting ready and venturing forward. We kind of know where we need to go, but we are hesitant in doing so for the sheer fact that while we are like level 7 at this point, like level 6 or 7, we are not the greatest of sleuths when it comes to picking up clues. And we collectively are worried that maybe we might be walking into a very, very, very nasty trap. But who knows? For all we know, it could be this is exactly the direction we're supposed to go, and this is how we're supposed to deal with it. No idea. Hopefully, we'll do well. But we had a good time either way. It was a good session. And then just last night, played our Curse of Strahd game, where we had a great time. Aside from a social snafu on my own, which I'm not even going to bring up. I basically, when you're playing in Roll20, if you are having a private conversation with another one of the players, be very careful about using the /W whisper thing. You got to get it right every time, or you broadcast part of your conversation to the whole group, and that can be extremely embarrassing. Or in this case last night, it made us kind of bring the session to a halt for a second for me to explain why I was being grumpy about a particular subject. Old guy problems. But the game itself, we had a great time. We met up with a cool NPC, and we got to a new location, this tower thing that almost zapped the crap out of us. But we made it. We found our way in. We got up into the tower, and I'm playing a paladin in that game that's currently wearing just basic everyday chainmail. And we get to the top of this room, and there's this awesome spoilers for Curse of Strahd players, by the way. We get to the top of this tower, and there's this awesome, there's a little treasure. There's a severed head, which is not awesome, but at least we're pretty sure that this stuff is no longer being owned by anyone. And we find this really cool, suit of plate mail, and I'm like full plate, and I'm like, dude, that would be amazing for me. I'll give my chainmail to a priest who has no armor, but still can wear chainmail, and then I'll take the full plate, and now suddenly we've got a new tank in the party. I can go in there and bust heads a little more succinctly, knowing that I'm got 3 or 4 more points worth of protection. While we're carrying it outside, this is the spoiler part, because the game master asked if I was putting it on, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna. In a weird foreign tower that's filled with a dead severed head and things, I'm not gonna let's change clothes. We'll wait until we're at like camp or like the next morning or whatever. And so we get down to the bottom of the tower, and we're we're getting everything ready and getting ready to move on to the next thing, and there is a word carved above the door frame, the lintel, which I did not know that was the name. So right behind me, this upper part of the door frame thing, that is called the lintel. Who knew? Carved up above the lintel is this word, and I had assumed that it must have been the name of the guy who lived in the tower, maybe the name of the severed head. And so while we're packing stuff up to move, I said, well, what about Rudolph or this guy? And I said the guy's name, and the game master looks at me and goes, "Did you just say Chozon or Curzon or whatever his name is?" I'm like, yeah. I was like, did I butcher it? Did I say the wrong name? And he goes, "Nope." And instead, my armor that I had not put on yet stands up and salutes me. That's right. I have a suit of animated armor that is my servant now, that I wanted to be able to wear to protect me. So I have no idea what to do there. Like there is a part of me that, like, when we get to this town that we're going to, I kind of want to find like the blacksmith, the super duper blacksmith, and be like, "Hey, I'll teach you how to make this guy work for you, protect your family, if you give me a set of real plate mail and maybe, or like two, maybe if I can talk him into it, be like 2 sets of half plate or a half plate and a full plate, so I can go ahead and hook up my priest friend too." But either way, it made me wonder what would happen if you never said the name again. You would just basically have a set of plate mail that emanates magic, and you'd be like, "That's weird." It's magical plate mail that doesn't give you any extra bonus, but you would never know what it is until you eventually said that name. And there was a part of me that was like, what if I would have had it on and I said the name? Would I suddenly be taken for a ride? Like every turn I have to make a strength check versus that of the armor to make sure that it doesn't keep me from doing stuff. I don't know. It would have been like, I kind of wish that I would have said I would have put it on, but this way there was no danger involved. And honestly, we have this weird servant right now. Like I even told him, I was like, "All right, go back to rest, go back to sleep, stop doing what you're doing. Here's your name again." And nothing seems to work. It seems like once he's awake, he's awake. It's not undead. I already searched that. It's not like a ghost. It's literally just a set of magical animated armor that, because I said the name first, it answers to me. So weird, but hopefully cool. And honestly, I kind of want to just get rid of it in lieu of like maybe some magic armor for me and my buddy, or even just some good armor for me and my buddy, because for 2 reasons. One, I don't want to have to keep track of, well, what's the animated armor doing? What are you having the animated armor do? There's a certain point where playing the Pokemon style character where you've got all these minions that you summon or whatever gets to be a drag, and I don't want that. I don't want to be that drag. So I want to find a home for this place, or I want to find a home for this armor, so that way we can continue as unfettered as possible. The only other thing for the Week in Bryan that happened is, as per the thumbnail on this video, you saw it, I got my second jab. I'm fully vaccinated. I am very happy about that. Not because I like getting shots. I don't. I actually, despite being tattooed quite a bit, I hate shots. And I get super nervous about it. But it's done. My muscle was sore a little bit for a day. I know a lot of people had some pretty adverse side effects for their second shot. I didn't really have any. I was tired. I was really sleepy. But I never really got chills or fever or felt like sick, or my appetite never went away or anything like that. I just had a sore arm. That was it. It wasn't a big deal. But that is what spawned today's real topic. The Week in Bryan's taken us a while because there was so much to talk about. But it brought up the the topic is the world is starting. At least I should say, I shouldn't say the world. I should say the U.S. I should not be so Americentric. Um, the U.S. anyway is starting to get to the point where we can um, where we can uh, start to do things together in groups. You know, we've got where our vaccination levels are going up. People, the number of anti-maskers, thankfully, is going down. It is starting to hopefully rise up a little bit, where we will start being able to start having groups again, small groups indoors of people who are vaccinated, things like that. And what someone asked me the other night, they're like, you know, because I got the shot a couple days ago, and they said, what are you most excited about? And that question alone made me go, what am I most excited about? And so I wanted to take this opportunity to basically do my uh, my the 10 things that I'm most pumped about now that I'll be fully vaccinated, and I will feel more comfortable going out in groups, feel more comfortable going out and seeing people, and in some instances getting to actually hang out with hang out with some of my friends, sans mask, you know, things like that. So here it is. That's what today's episode about is basically the 10 things that I'm most psyched um, about being fully vaccinated. Here, that once I get past that, you're technically, after your second shot, you're supposed to wait 14 days to make sure that there is no adverse side effects, make sure the shot did not cause any like allergic reactions or anything, or that you're not one of those unlucky sods that ends up getting the virus before the shot takes effect. Oh, that would suck. That would be the worst. But yeah, so we are everyone in my house now is vaccinated. Even the kids. By the time this comes out, my daughter will have had the first shot and have the second one scheduled. My son gets his first shot next week. So yeah, we're getting close and super psyched about it. But without further ado, let's talk about the things that I kind of can't wait to do collectively now that I feel more comfortable at being fully vaccinated and in a house full of fully vaccinated people. And one, going to the zoo. So going to the zoo is a big deal for me. It always has been. I love seeing animals. I'm a huge animal nerd. When I was little, I wanted to be some kind of zoologist or work at a zoo or take care of the animals. I've always been that way. I've had we have 3 dogs, 2 cats, a bearded lizard, and in the past I've had a Savannah monitor, a sulcata tortoise, multiple hedgehogs. Technically, the Indiana State Department of Natural Resources has me listed as a Titan beetle breeder, even though I never actually started the process. I filled out all the paperwork. I've always been big into animals, and I love going to the zoo and seeing animals that I haven't been able to come into contact with, that kind of thing. And ever since the pandemic, I've just never really felt comfortable being around big crowds, especially, you know, when you get into some of those aquarium style places, or some of the attractions that are smaller, where you're all, you know, jammed together. I hated the concept of it, so I obviously never even tried, even if like the big outdoor events, mask or no mask. Now that I'm fully vaccinated, I will feel much better walking around the outside of a nice big zoo with no mask on, and then like popping my mask on when we go inside the inner buildings and things like that, to just to make sure. Again, I know this. The whole list is of things I want to do that are like, you know, to set you free. You know, because of the vaccination, but I I do want to express that this is not me saying that I'm going to go woo and just throw my masks away and from here on out it is breathe in people's faces and hug people when they don't want when they don't want the loving. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I will now feel so much better in a circumstance where I do take my mask off for a little while, or I'm outside in a group of people that I know I'm well protected, and I'm not going to bring that home to someone who isn't protected as well. I know the CDC has said that you should feel better now not wearing a mask. That being said, I do still I'm not going to be the one of the people who live their lives in a bubble. But I am also not going to ignore the fact that this virus is probably never going to go completely away. There's going to be mutated strains. There's going to be other health factors involved. It's just we finally have gotten to the point where it's not something that every time I leave the house I have to worry about. See, another easy thing is, honestly, one of the things I'm excited about. Grabbing a bite to eat. I know it seems so weird, but I'm a bigger gentleman, and food is a big deal for me. I love cooking. I love going through all of the food sciences and doing things in my kitchen. I love it. But there are times where you just want to throw your key, put your key, throw yourself in the car, go to some place, meet up with a buddy, and just eat eat as many chicken wings as you can fit in your mouth, or go to a dim sum place and stuff your face with dim sum. And with very few exceptions, it has been very hard to feel that that's even remotely okay for the last year. And while I know that it still will not be perfect, and I'll probably be pretty edgy in a place that's like super packed, but if I pick the right restaurant at the right time with the right people, it is going to be so awesome to be able to go out and get a different, enjoy a different atmosphere when I'm eating. I mean, that sounds so weird, but it is sometimes. Some of these things is going to be the little things that make you happy. This one, so I don't know if you've noticed, but over the last year, I have grown my hair in this kind of Viking mohawk thing, and the sides are normally shaved. But it's been a hot minute, and now that summer's coming around, and it's going to start getting warmer in here, and I'm going to sweat a little more. I think one of the things that I'm excited about doing once I'm past the 14 days thing is to get a haircut. It's so weird, to go get a professional haircut. I'm probably gonna go short again. Maybe I don't know if I'll do the mohawk again until maybe the winter, but still, it'll be nice to have somebody lean back in the sink, not care the fact that there's a person within 5 feet of me, because I know that hopefully they'll be wearing a mask and I'll be wearing my mask, but we'll be taken care of. That's what I'm talking about. That's the thing. This one's kind of a big one, but sort of halfway. Go see my family. My mom and I are extremely close. I've mentioned this before. I'm a big mama's boy, and I weep at the drop of a hat because of the heart that she gave me. But I'm also pretty close with my sister and her family, and unfortunately, unlike my parents who got vaccinated very early and have come to see us at the house once or twice, I haven't seen aside from like a 10 feet apart, I dropped something off on their on the porch. I haven't seen my sister and brother-in-law in at least 7 or 8 months. And it'll be really nice. It will really, really be nice to be able to go and see them and give my niece a hug. Give my sister a nice, long, necessary hug. She has been going through some very hard times lately. And I hate not being there for her. But I also know, she has a little one at home. We've got little ones here. We can't risk throwing a germ into the mix and then suddenly, not only have you been dealing with some hard stuff, but also your family's sick. Yeah, so that's right out. Um, Another big thing for what I can't wait. There we go, right there. Um, getting to actually be with my playtest groups. So I've mentioned that Warzone is being playtested by lots of groups, but there are other things that I make. I make some of the DMs Guild stuff. I occasionally write I've been writing for Renegade games for the Power Rangers and Transformers and GI Joe role playing games. Normally, when I'm writing for someone, I almost always try to playtest some of those concepts with my local group. Nice tight knit people that I've been playing with for years and years and years. And because of COVID, we just really it hasn't been able to happen. And so all of the playtesting has been hands off, and I see the reports afterwards. And when it comes to the role playing stuff, I really normally like to be there to be able to answer questions and stuff, rather than just have it being in a vacuum, and then it adds the extra time going back and forth. And so I'm excited to be able to actually get the playtest groups together, or at least be able to feel like I can go and eavesdrop on a playtest and be there at ground zero. That's going to be huge. It's going to be a nice thing to be able to accomplish as a designer who wants to be who tries to be as hands on as he can. Which leads us actually to pretty much the next thing, and that is this one: being able to play role playing games at the same table again. Not have to worry about Zoom or Roll20 because now don't get me wrong, I love Roll20 and I love D&D Beyond, and I love the ability to be able to play with my friend. One of my best friends in the world lives several states away, like a 10-hour drive away, and I get to play games with him every Wednesday night because of electronics, because of Roll20, because of D&D Beyond. I was able to be in a game with my friend Satine, not at a convention, because of Roll20. I mean, like, these are the things that I never would have thought was something I would do before COVID. Occasionally we tried to play something off of Discord. Like, we played a Star Trek game that was Discord based, and it was fun. It's a good time, but there's always distractions. And my microphone isn't working, or hang on, the dice roller keeps giving me a 7 every time I roll the dice, no matter what. Like, there's all these little things that can go wrong, that especially things like microphones and ear and headsets, and I'm getting your voice 3 times, and what's that horrible sound? These are things that don't happen in a everybody at the same table game. Not to mention, there's also the camaraderie of a lot of times when we plan these like a Sunday afternoon role playing game day. There's everybody brings some food. We turn it into a barbecue. It ends up being more than just 3 hours sitting in front of the game, playing the game. Throw in the fact that I live on this stupid computer because of work. And then, so the activities that I do to try and wind down, to try and de-stress, to forget about the fact that I have 10,000 words that I've got to get cranked out in the next 5 days or whatever, that goes away because I'm here in front of the computer. I'm here. I can see the windows that I have open for work. And there are times where I will role play and go, mute my microphone because I saw a window and said, I could probably throw a couple hundred words down. And that's not only is that disingenuous to the game that I'm playing, because I'm not paying as close attention as I could, but it's also it's basically pointing to my own levels of de-stress and saying, hey, that doesn't, my own levels of self-care, and it says, no, you don't get to do that. You need to keep working because you're sitting in front of the computer. And that's hard. It's hard to deal with. So I'm so looking forward to being able to sit with my fellow players, have a sandwich, have some chicken, whatever, enjoy the company, and still roleplay for like a decent number of hours straight without having to worry about, oh, did the internet go out, or oh man, my dog needs to run outside because he's scratching at the door. Sorry, everybody, this scene has to stop. Like I'm very, very excited to be able to start playing around the table again. I think that's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna feel so good again. Which also brings us to, that's right, game nights, where we actually invite people over to have beer and wine and play some board games. We've had a couple of instances where we're like, hey, please, you one person who I know has been safe, that you one person who's been in our bubble, please, you come over and play this game with us. But that's not the same as a game night. It is not the same as inviting over 4 or 5, people and being like, hey, we're going to play 2 or 3 different games, or setting up a specific game. We've already got our first Twilight Imperium game scheduled for when after my shot goes gold and I'm good. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I mean, it's going to be just a crazy day of playing the most long, maddening space game ever. But it's going to be so much fun because I'm going to be with my friends. I'm going to be drinking, having some beers and having some cocktails and things while we're playing this great game. And I'm not going to be worried about when I go home. Do I need to scrub everything? Do I need to worry about what got touched and what didn't? I just get to exist because of the fact that we're all immunized, and that makes me so happy. In the same vein of things, we've got this one. Movies are big for me. I love movies, especially big blockbuster movies, especially superhero movies. I used to love going to the theater. I'll go to the theater by myself. In the afternoon, if I've got my work done, or if I feel like I'm in a decent place where I can shove it off to later, I'll go catch a matinee because it's cheaper by myself. During COVID, half of our theaters got shut down because there was no one to run them or no one going. And now that they're starting to trickle open again, I know that I've talked to people and they're like, oh my God, I went to go see this movie in the theater. It was amazing. And I'm like, how did you do that? And they're like, there was like 3 of us in the theater. It's still, there are a lot of people that are very afraid to go into these theaters. And I'm not trying to say I want to go to a packed theater. I don't. I'm also not trying to say that I'm going to go and then immediately sit next to someone and take my mask off. What I'm saying is I want to wear my mask. I'm going to go find a nice place that's hopefully 10, 15 feet away from somebody else. I'm going to pop my mask off. I'm going to shove movie popcorn in my mouth, and I'm going to enjoy films. This also goes hand in hand with inviting people over to watch films specifically. During COVID, we've watched a bunch of movies with my kids that I see them in the streaming services and go, oh my God, I love this movie so much. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Let's watch that movie. So the kids have sucked in all kinds of really good, movies from our childhood and so forth during the quarantine. But there is a part of me that wants to be able to say, the next big super slasher film or something, I want to invite my Gore's Day people over. Gore's Day, by the way, was a special event. Every Wednesday we would get everybody together and spend all day watching horror movies. That was something I did at my old apartment. Sadly, real life and jobs and things have gotten in the way to be able to do that again. But I would love to be able to have like an OG original, Gore Master Gore's Day, invite people over, and we're gonna watch horror movies all day today. And we're gonna throw a bunch of meat on the grill and just enjoy it. Vegans beware. This one didn't happen as much, and Zoom actually still makes this easier. But I'm a painter. I love painting miniatures. And when back in my college days, we would get together. We'd bring a handful of paints with us. We'd get together, bring a few brushes, bring our the models we're working on, and we would get together and we would paint all night long. You know, everyone sitting around the same table. Now that I've got my painting studio and stuff set up, and a lot of the stuff that I paint is for commissions and stuff, I don't do in-person painting that often, but I still would like to. I would love to be able to orchestrate a nice painting hobby day at the local store. Just basically, or invite a couple of people over to get some stuff assembled and have an assembly day. You know, there's no there's no question that I've got enough models that need to get between Conquest and my Age of Sigmar Slaanesh, and there's a couple of new Necrons that are coming out, and this whole Orc Snagaboy thing that I've decided I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have models galore that need to get put together and get painted and things, and it's always nice to do that with company. Yeah, sure, it's fun to get get kind of lost in your head and into music and just kind of do stuff on your own. But I've always had a better time when you're painting and modeling and things around others. You know, as you're having conversation and just sort of enjoying time together. So I'm looking forward to being able to try and put that together without having a screen in front of us. And then this one I think is probably, in all honesty, I think most people are gonna know generally, but it's this. You know, I tell you guys every week to go out there and smile and have a good time and play some games. During COVID, it has been hard, but this will be the reason, like the biggest thing that we get to get through and get by and get over is being able to go to the store and catch a 40K game. Not have to worry about, do we have enough terrain? Do I have enough big enough table at the house? You know, pop down to the local store and throw down my new, when I get my Snagas and figure out figure out how they work, get to sit down and play with them. You know, the first time, my friend, one of my very very close friends that plays Conquest with me, or rather, he plays. We are going to play Conquest together once we get our stuff put together. We sat up on the phone the other day talking about rules and things, but we both agreed that we've got a decent command of what we think the game will play. It's going to be hard until we sit down and play it. And now that we're both vaccinated, now that we're both, past the fear of COVID, I'm excited. We're actually going to get to do that. We're actually going to get to push those models around. Go Dwagum. And then there is one last thing that kind of goes all together with everything else, and that's this. So it's, I don't know, hard to say whether or not, and that's why this wasn't on the list, why it wasn't part of the top 10, because I don't know yet. My jury is still very much out as to whether or not going to conventions is a good idea. There are too many people out there that are like, I'm going to just lie and I'm going to just lie and tell people that I'm vaccinated. Or, why would I wear if I'm vaccinated, why am I going to wear a mask at all, ever? There's too many variables to have some of these shows come in at even half strength. If Gen Con even comes in at half strength, you're still looking at like a $50,000 or 50,000 person show daily, and that's a lot of people to put into a small area, and hope that that everybody's being honest, that everybody's been vaccinated, or everyone masks in the high traffic areas. So it's a little scary. It's just scary enough that I'm like, nah, I'm not sure. But then on the other hand, being a freelance member of my community, or of my industry, missing out on these conventions hurts. You lose projects, you lose steam on existing projects. Some companies fold. There's a lot going on, and it'd be really nice to be able to see a lot of the stuff that I had in my list apply even specifically during a convention. I've got friends that I only see at conventions, and it rips my heart out to know that, you know, it might be another year before I still see those guys. And it kills me, you know, people that I viewed as, I'm gonna see you probably once every couple months, and now that has ended because they're, you know, the convention staffs aren't necessarily sure that that's going to be something they can do, and they, you know, obviously they also don't want to turn, you know, anything into a giant super spreader event if someone does, you know, have symptoms and goes, I'm still gonna go to Gen Con because it's Gen Con and they're gonna let me. Be careful, man. You know, you might ruin it for everybody, but you're definitely gonna ruin it for yourself. Um, so that's like on my unwritten 11th is, I'm really looking forward to conventions starting back up. I just hope that they do it in a smart way, in a slow way, and in a controllable way until we know for a fact that the vaccinations and stuff are just knocking this virus out. Um, yeah, that's what I got. I hope more than anything, I really hope that people trust in the science, trust in people feeling better, trust in the numbers dropping, and even if, honestly, even if you are the kind of person that's like, I don't like vaccines, I don't want to put poison in my body to deal with other poison. Well, first off, you probably shouldn't take any medicine because they're all poisons. But regardless, even if you believe that, I'm hoping that there are enough people surrounding you that do believe in what the scientists say, that do believe in the maneuvering and whatever. I'm hoping that maybe if they can't change your mind, they can at least protect the rest of the world from you by forming a wall of good decisions around your behavior. If that makes any sense. All right, so you know what time it is. It's that time. It's where I tell you, go out there, get vaccinated, get your cool card, get a mask on if you're in public, find some cool new games to play. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that little dingy like the video, hit the dingy thing, hit the bell, subscribe, share, comment. You know how this goes. I want to grow the channel. I want the channel to get bigger. If you want to help me or any of my my affiliates, check out the description. There's all kinds of links in the description between my Amazon wish list for the store, all the way down to the DM's link to my first PDF. Rock and roll, do it. By the time this comes out, no, next. It's not this week. In like 2 weeks' time, there are a couple of really good Kickstarters coming out, and I'm sure I'll probably shout it to the heavens when that stuff comes together. So you know how it is. Get out there, enjoy yourself, be safe, but above all else, play some games. See you next week.